welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex, and as you can see, it's that time of year where gamers the world over hold their breath and hope that Santa gets it right and doesn't deliver a heap of pixelated bollocks.
Oh yes, let's hope he's vodcasting tonight, because we'll be looking at all the new games vying for a spot in your Christmas stocking. Some gamers trying to help sick kids get well faster and with better high scores.
And forget the Oscars, forget the Grammys, it's time to announce the Good Game Annual Awards for games. Your votes and ours combined to crown one game the very best of 2009.
But first, can you name this Christmas game? Answer at the end of the show, which is quite a long way off, as this is an epic 1 hour long Good Game episode.
Get on with it, Barjo.
Yeah! Let's do it! Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Woo!
Good game.
Two years after sailing the seven seas in Phantom Hourglass, Link, or rather an ancestor of the pointy hat hero, is back on board for the Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks.
The boat has been swapped for a train. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think we need to go into a bit more detail than that.
Really? Instead of cruising the waves, you'll now be exploring the world via railway. Yes, this game is on rails. As the introductory story explains, the train tracks are actually magical shackles keeping a demon king bound within the earth. As these start disappearing, it's up to Link to restore them, which in turn helps you rebuild a spirit tower where all the lines converge.
Now, if the slow sailing in Phantom Hourglass bothered you, then you're not going to be much happier with the train driving here because it follows a similar formula. There's still a lot of dead time as you sit watching a train get from A to B, which really started to do my head in. As with the boat in the last game, at least you can fire off cannonballs, so there's something to play with as you chug about.
There are warp gates which let you teleport to different quarters of the map, but I agree with you, Hex, it takes ages to get anywhere, and pretty soon you get tired of shooting at boulders, seagulls and signposts.
There's also countless pesky critters who threaten to end your game if you don't babysit your train all the way to its destination.
There are some side quests that break up the monotony though, such as ferrying cargo and passengers in between towns, and these require you to follow the rules of the railway, such as tooting your horn at certain points and shifting speeds.
Yeah, exciting. I don't know, maybe the train driving is just a boy thing.
Woo!
On the upside, there's one thing that Spirit Tracks thankfully doesn't repeat from the last game, and that's that frickin' ocean temple that forced you to repeat the same levels over and over and over and over until you get back up to where you left off.
Well, there is still a master temple, it's just that now you can bypass all those levels you've already done by going up an internal spiral staircase.
I think I actually kissed my DS when I realised I wouldn't have to do all that again.
There are a lot of similar elements between this and the last two games. Beetle is back with his loyalty cards system, and there's treasure items such as pearl necklaces and things you can hoard. You can upgrade the look of your train just like you did with the boat in the previous game, and there's a Nuki matching too.
Plus there are a few returning characters, even though it takes place 100 or so years after the last game. Nico is back as a crusty old man, and you meet the son of Linebeck. I guess it doesn't hurt development time to recycle a few old assets.
There are puzzles here which will stump you in your spirit tracks, and it's quite fun working them out. And of course, sniffing out secrets is as addictive as ever.
I liked some of the puzzles that involved controlling both Link and a companion, like those big armoured dudes. The touchscreen control makes it pretty painless to control both Link and draw lines to direct the path of your companion.
Link also has a few new toys to play with, such as the wind-creating fan thinget.
It's called a whirlwind bat.
Yeah, that's the one. Also, there's some which are more central to the game, such as the flute, which you use by blowing into the DS microphone, and this can awaken statues, heal yourself up, and reveal hidden objects. Although I guess it's not that different to playing the ocarina or howling melodies as a wolf in Twilight Princess, is it?
Not really.
Typically, the boss fights are excellent. Link is always up against something mammoth, and it's just a matter of observing the patterns and then looking through your inventory and seeing what will work against it. There are some diversions to keep you busy if you get tired of dungeon hacking though, and that's rabbit hunting and ink stamp collecting, which will make sure that you see all the different locations in the world.
The cornerstone of the Zelda experience is solving puzzles, and there are some really well thought out ones in Spirit Tracks, no question.
There are some elements which feel a bit samey, like striking a guard in the back or using a boomerang to go around a corner and hit a switch, but it's just the language of Zelda games, and it's a matter of just using your past experiences with the rules and the puzzle ideas and then just apply that to the new puzzle designs. There's still enough to get you thinking here, I think.
Okay, so what about battle mode?
Yes, separate to the main adventure is a multiplayer battle mode that sees 4 links head-to-head in a gem-grabbing rumble. It's not quite Bomberman, but it is a bit of a laugh lobbing a bomb into the back of someone's head just before they grab a bunch of gems. And it's always nice to have an option for shenanigans. I do like shenanigans, and I love the word shenanigans.
While I don't think the Zelda team is totally creatively bankrupt, I was expecting, or at least hoping, for something significantly different from the last game, but this is no real departure. I mean, I'm still gonna go back and finish it, so I guess that says something, but in my heart of hearts, I just don't think it deserves more than a 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It certainly felt to me that it met that standard of Zelda games that we've come to expect, and I don't really feel like it's getting too samey for its own good. You won't be disappointed, especially if for some freakish reason you've never played a Zelda game before. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
And now it's time for our first award of the night, and it's for Best Game Graphics for 2009. And the nominations are Killzone 2, Borderlands, Uncharted 2, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
And the winner, as unanimously voted by the Good Game team and the forum goers, is Uncharted 2!
Oh my god! It's easily the best looking game, not just of the year, but ever. The level of detail throughout is simply mind-blowing, from the heights of the Himalayan mountains to the water dripping off Nate after he's been for a swim. But most importantly, for the facial animations, which give characters charm and personality usually unseen in games. It's actually so pretty that once you play Uncharted 2, every other game gets uglier. Naughty Dog, we tip our hats to you.
Trust me.
Good game.
Left 4 Dead 2 is the much anticipated sequel to Valve's hit zombie cooperative shooter, and it brings a bunch of new maps, some new weapons, level design tweaks, and some new zombies. It's also a huge steaming pile of reindeer turd.
Oh, this is not happening.
That's right, we have a cut-down, neutered, oxygen-starved version of the game that's had most of the gore removed because we have no 18+ rating for video games in this country and are apparently unable to make judgment calls of our own.
Yes, even though we butchered civilians as an airport terrorist, stabbed people in the head, throat, spine, and liver, chainsawed peaceful protesters, gored, impaled, blinded, and thrown punks into jet engines, and deliberately mowed down innocent pedestrians. But when it comes to zombies, oh no, we can't have a zombie corpse on the ground or show a zombie's head exploding. That's just too real.
Looks like there's been a change of plans.
Valve have totally overcompensated with the gore removal. Sure, the addition of melee makes things a bit more up close and personal, but why did the things that made it into the last game not make it into this one?
And it's not that we want to see gore just for the sake of it, it's just that in the context of this particular game, it's a core part of the experience. It's meant to be a fight for survival, us versus them, do whatever it takes, and that's the point. It's meant to be stressful like that, and now you can't even tell if you're getting a headshot, and bodies will just disappear, and that breaks the game. The disappearing act is what ruined it for me, Hex.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes bodies will disappear before they've even hit the ground, and always within moments of being taken out. Would a few extra seconds have made that much of a difference to the rating? Why disappear at all? It was a real sense of accomplishment seeing those glorious piles of bullet-riddled zombies in the first game, and it also showed the consequence of the action. I mean, now we can kill with impunity, which is surely not what the censors would have wanted. And you don't feel like you've shot 1 billion zombies, you feel like you've shot the same zombie 100 times and he's just stealthed and gone around the corner and come back for another go. The classification board found the original submission to have high-impact violence on living humans with a rabies-like virus. That's why it was refused classification, and that's why we have the cut-down version.
Funny thing is though, Hex, I don't remember fighting any of these living humans with a rabies-like virus in the game. I would have asked one of the millions of zombies in the game if they had seen them, but unfortunately they all disappeared before I got the chance.
If we can put the massive nerf behind us, there are actually some new additions.
Yeah, like incendiary ammo that you can hold on to until you get to a really tough fight where you really need it. Although, with all the fire effects removed, it's kind of like a lame railgun, even though fire effects were fine in Borderlands and GTA 4.
Stay on target, Barger. Laser sights make it easier for you to avoid friendly fire and see what's going on, and the in-game director, which controls item spawns and the game's dynamic difficulty, has undergone some good tweaks.
Yeah, one of the problems with the first game was you play through it once and then you just know where to go, but here certain paths will change, like in the cemetery level, each time you play through. And the in-game AI, called the director, also takes into account whether you're a run-and-gun kind of gamer or whether you stop and shoot enemies, and then adjust the zombie rushes accordingly. You get the feeling here there's a lot going on under the hood that you might not notice on your first playthrough, or maybe ever.
Yeah, the storms did that too, moving around, restricting your vision, and really ramping up those feelings of suspense and claustrophobia. The crescendo moments where you fight wave after wave of zombies are still in here, as well as those fun locations like the rock concert where you get to bash zombies with a guitar.
There's also new areas that require different strategies, such as the mall, where gas tanks are spread out all over the mall and you need to fill up a vehicle to escape. And this makes you really trust your team, and Left 4 Dead is a team-based game, so on the harder difficulties you'll find yourself experimenting with new ideas just to get through the level.
There isn't much new on the zombie front, but there are a few level-specific ones thrown in for good measure.
Like Riot Squad Zombie, who has extra Kevlar, but it's still kind of easy to take down. You know what, Hex? Maybe it's the lack of dismemberment, but I wasn't a huge fan of the melee.
I don't know, I loved it. There's something really satisfying about smacking a zombie's face off with a frying pan. It's really worth listening to the developers' commentary though. It's sort of similar to what they did with the whole Half-Life 2 Lost Coast thing, listening to developers talk as you play out each scenario.
Since the Spitter's strategy is to hit and run, striking at the survivors from far away, we needed distinct visual markers to differentiate her in the dark spaces during the chaos of combat.
The PC lobby and invite system have all been improved here, but still, Hex, I found myself just really craving more story than an opening cinematic.
Kill all sons of bitches. That's my official instructions.
If you're a Nigel No Friends, don't bank on the teammate AI to help you out because they'll really leave you hanging. This is a game you really need to play with friends, and that's where the fun is. If you did miss the first one, though, I would recommend you just go and play that, because I couldn't get into this at all. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 headless chickens.
Unfortunately, the censorship here makes us kind of like watching a horror film in the middle of the day with the sound off. And a sequel's meant to be better, but it's just been wrecked here. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 10 live chickens with a rabies-like virus.
Good game.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. As you know, we have syndicated the decision for next year's paradigm shift, also known as SIDNIPS, content-wise. We want you to take things to greater than or equal to the next level. I want you to think about the synergy, the energy in synergy. What does it mean? How can we achieve it? Why be such a noob?
Follow, follow! Quick sticks! This way, this way.
Badge, I think he was trying to tell us something. Look at all these old consoles.
Hang on a sec, Hex. That was no ordinary gaming spectre. That's the ghost of gaming past. I can feel a backwards compatible coming on. The naughties couldn't have got off to a bigger, brighter, and better start with the launch of the stupidly successful PlayStation 2 in 2000.
Sony PlayStation 2.
When we got our hands on games like Time Splitters, Burnout, Final Fantasy X, and the magnificent Ico, the previous generation of blurry N64 games and clunky PS1 polygons were obliterated in an instant.
Sony's decision to switch from CD to DVD also made the PS2 more of a general home entertainment system. The DualShock controller evolved to include a set of fully analog buttons to go with its sticks, though only 2 controller ports meant that gamers were still lumped with a multi-tap adapter should a 4-player session be on the cards. one very important bit of software made its debut on the PS2 and would go on to influence the industry in a profound way. With Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 3, the sandbox game was born. The PS2 still holds its own to this day. In fact, it only officially went on sale in Brazil last month. I know, weird.
After observing how Sony moulded the PlayStation brand to become synonymous with video gaming, Microsoft stepped up to the plate for their slice of the rapidly expanding games industry pie. The Xbox copped criticism on debut for being a PC squashed into a big black box with a controller like an oversized potato. But the weight of Microsoft's marketing very quickly moved the Xbox into the minds of the mainstream.
The Xbox scored a few console gaming firsts. It had an 8GB internal hard drive, making saves a cartridge-free process. And more importantly, it introduced an integrated online multiplayer service, humbly dubbed Live.
Xbox launched titles like Project Gotham Racing, Oddworld Munch's Odyssey, and Halo Combat Evolved matched Sony punch for punch when it came to visual wow factor. Even Nintendo, left stumbling after the cartridge-based N64, were willing to weigh in with a serious technology upgrade this time around.
Let me introduce you to our new baby. Like all babies, it is small, but it will make a lot of noise.
Codenamed the Dolphin while in development, the GameCube was, in some ways, typical Nintendo, stubbornly rejecting the popular DVD format for its own proprietary mini-optical discs and housing its hardware in a weird purple cube that wasn't even technically a cube. Here was Nintendo continuing to distance itself from the MTV generation hardcore that Sony and Microsoft coveted. And it had a handle!
Early GameCube releases like Luigi's Mansion, Super Monkey Ball and Star Wars Rogue Leader impressed, but the GameCube seemed destined to languish in third place.
The GameCube controller, while as ergonomic as a handful of butter, was probably Nintendo's wake-up call as to how confusing these complex controllers were starting to look to the average person on the street. To be a gamer now meant studying a complex diagram of controls every time you wanted to play a new game.
While the first few years of the decade heralded the beginning of an almighty console war, the PC was continuing a golden stretch of games, despite a minor hiccup in 2000 with the laughably suckish Daikatana from John Romero. Massive releases like Diablo 2, Baldur's Gate 2, Deus Ex and The Sims helped to keep the PC well on top. It was an expensive habit to run a decent gaming PC in the early part of the decade.
Morrowind, Doom 3, Half-Life 2, these were games that brought millions of desktop PCs to their knees with vertigo-inducing system requirements. And in the case of Half-Life 2, a digital distribution platform was introduced in the form of Steam. You had to install Steam and register your copy of Half-Life 2 online before being able to play, which annoyed many a gamer.
While the hardcore tweaked their water cooling systems, the humble Game Boy was getting an upgrade of its own. The Game Boy Advance hit the scene in 2001 and enjoyed a few years of love with gems like Advance Wars and WarioWare, Mega Micro Games, before the revolutionary Nintendo DS came a-knocking in 2004. Titles like Brain Training and Nintendogs started to appeal to people outside of the typical gaming sphere. Soon, mums and dads were tapping out Sudoku and taking the advice of Olivia Newton-John that the DS was a system for everybody, not just gaming nerds. Nintendo were clearly onto something.
Good game.
It's time now to hand out another gong, and this time it's for the game with the best sound in 2009. And the nominations are Uncharted 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Dragon Age Origins, and Halo 3 ODST.
And the winner is Modern Warfare 2!
Modern Warfare 2 was the clear winner with both the Good Game team and the forum goers, and is an absolute auditory masterpiece. Everything from the hearty punch of gunfire to the distinctive tink of a nade landing next to you, to the swelling orchestral score, to the astounding accuracy of your teammates' battle chatter.
Hey, we got contact to the north.
It all adds up to one hell of a great sounding package. Congratulations to audio lead Mark Gannis and the rest of the audio team at Infinity Ward. War really has never sounded so good.
Good game.
If a problem comes along, you must whip it. At least that's how Lego Indy deals with things, and he's back in his plastic fedora to take us through the kingdom of the Crystal Skull and recap his past adventures. Even though it feels like just yesterday we played them. Or maybe that was Lego Batman. I don't know, Hex, all this stud collecting is starting to become a bit of a blur for me.
It's that tried and tested LEGO formula at work again. While Crystal Skull may have polarised fans at the box office, here in LEGO form it turns out to be just as fun and inventive as the original adventures.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the only way to play these games is in split screen, so my warm and fuzzies go out to the dev team for finally solving that problem of tooling about on the same screen. The game intelligently goes into split screen when you move away from each other and then tilts to let you know when you're coming back towards each other and then magically reseals itself. Brilliant.
Overall, the levels in LEGO Indy 2 are pretty big, so you do tend to run off in different directions a lot. In fact, the game operates from really large central hub locations that you have to explore to actually figure out where the next level kicks off from.
Yeah, I'm not sure everybody will love that. You do spend a lot of your time just looking for that next trigger for the next cutscene, and in a way, I guess it's a game within itself. And if you know the movie's plot, then you kind of know what to look for anyway. Crystal Skull is about the same length as the original 3 games put together. Raiders, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade aren't just copy and pasted though, they're reimaginings of the original games, so if you have the first, you won't be going over old ground.
I actually found that LEGO Indy's whip was a lot more useful this time around. You can target and whip special latches to pull on bits of scenery, swing over gaps, tear open doors, and yank enemies off ledges. Of course, Indy will still need to brandish things like guns, machetes, bottles, shovels, whatever you need to use to progress. There are 1 or 2 epic boss fights as well, which makes a nice change from some of the lackluster level completions from earlier LEGO games.
Vehicles play a large part of LEGO Indy 2 to spice things up. There's motorbikes, 50s hot rods, aeroplanes, and that munching bulldozer that can destroy just about anything. Some of these can get a bit tiresome, like knocking waves and waves of goons off motorbikes, and it can be a pain getting stuck in the scenery and having to do a bajillion 3-point turns just to get out. But I did enjoy zooming around as Indy on my little motorbike, nailing cool little jumps.
The inclusion of a LEGO construction set for the first time in the series is really quite a drawcard for LEGO Indy. You can still do the usual mixing and matching of parts to create your own kooky LEGO characters or shuffle scenes from different films into your own custom adventure, but it's the custom level builder that will really let you cook up your own creative LEGO levels.
You can start from scratch and build the whole level block by block if you really want to be that fiddly, but browsing through the props will reveal that just about anything useful has already been prefabbed anyway.
There's no online galleries, you're going to have to invite your friends over if you want to show them what you've done.
I noticed on the LucasArts Twitter feed that they're working on a patch to bring online multiplayer to the PS3 and 360 version, so who knows, maybe they're smart enough to add an online upload for your custom maps too.
You know, the LEGO formula is still a heap of fun. Even if the same game mechanics get recycled, it's about cruising the level for studs by smashing absolutely everything. But the sprawling level design and humour make this worth playing. I'd skip the first one and go straight to this.
This is definitely a better game, and the split screen makes a huge difference. It's more bang for your buck overall as well. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to give it 8 as well.
And for our next award, it's for biggest claim, lamest game, and the nominations are Halo 3 ODST, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Borderlands, and Gran Turismo for PSP.
And the winner is Gran Turismo for the PSP.
Now the forum goers voted Halo 3 ODST in a clear landslide, but we disagree. Our vote and the award goes to Gran Turismo for the PSP. First revealed at the announcement of the PSP in 2004, Gran Turismo was promised to be a fully featured, fully fledged GT game. And finally, half a decade later, was it what we were promised? No, it wasn't. It didn't even have a career. They claimed it would give us the glorious world of GT in our pockets, and while they may have been able to fit 800 cars and 35 tracks on there, they forgot to make it fun. Big claim, lame game indeed.
Good game.
In celebration of the 10th year anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast and to prove that you can never keep a good console down, a brand new game has been independently released for Sega's last console, and it's called Rush Rush Rally Racing.
If you've ever played any of the awesome old school Micro Machines games, you'll feel right at home here. With 5 cars, plus some secret ones apparently, a bunch of tracks, you'll be furiously skidding into corners before they appear in a desperate attempt not to hit walls or lose speed.
And you really do want to stay on those tracks too, it's a huge boost to speed. It's just like Micro Machines. That top-down view makes it impossible to see what's coming around the corner, so you need to memorize every single track, and the turn indicators don't really help either.
Smart braking is also important, especially on those awful U-turns. You only get a few credits too, so even getting to that third track, it just reminds you of how hard games used to be.
There's one thing that's really troubling me though, Hex, and that's that I don't know how this game got through completely uncensored. We're playing the same version as the rest of the world. It's got violence, it's got blood, it's realistic. Quite frankly, I think it should be sent back to the board for reclassification pronto.
Yes, you can mindlessly slaughter civilians and cows with very little consequence. I can see the feelings they were trying to evoke here, Badge, but it wasn't really worth it.
I don't think it was, Hex. I know I've been scarred in a completely irreversible way. I loved all the music, and there's an old school sound test screen that lets you play out all the tracks and even adjust the clarity like a DJ. It's going to come in very handy at my next awesome retro party. You should totally come, Hex.
That sounds great. When is it?
Well, after the show tonight, we're on holiday, so I'm thinking, you know, maybe in a week or so.
Oh, I'm busy.
You're busy on holidays?
Yeah.
Multiplayer really is where the fun is at here, and you can do that split screen, but of course to do that you need 2, 3 or 4 working Dreamcast controllers and a Dreamcast. Hex, I can appreciate the fact that a game is being made for a completely extinct console, but compared to all the other Dreamcast games, it's not really up there. I'm giving it 4 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, even though it could be quite fun to tame the difficulty beast, I actually found it quite painful. It's a 5 from me. And of course I'll come to your party, Badge.
It's too late. RSVP closed 2 paragraphs ago, Hex.
Good game.
3 barrels! 3 barrels!
3 barrels? How much are the barrels?
They're free!
Good game.
It's award time again, and this one is for the best moment in a game this year. And the nominations are the helicopter chase on a train from Uncharted 2, stabbing Shepard in the head in Modern Warfare 2, Scarecrow messing with you in Batman Arkham Asylum, and finally getting to play Beatles songs in the Beatles rock band.
And the winner is the Scarecrow Trip Out moment in Batman Arkham Asylum. And a spoiler warning here, we're about to show you exactly that.
Now, the forum goers voted for the helicopter chase scene from Uncharted 2, and while that was certainly an awesome moment, we vetoed that vote and we're actually going to give it to Batman Arkham Asylum's brilliant Scarecrow trip-out sequence, where it glitched the game out
With a bang.
killed us, and then gave us the very handy hint, use the middle stick to dodge the Joker's gunfire. Just before seeing Bat's hand burst through the ground undead style. It was a truly masterful stroke of game design that left many a gamer applauding their TVs. Well played, Rocksteady. Well played.
Congratulations to Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, we've had a few best moments of our own this year. Take it away.
Good game.
I know you're there, Badjo.
Seeing a rise in profits and then an explosion in the marketplace. Sit down!
We could list all the reasons why this game is bad.
And here they are.
You cannot be serious!
But most of them do feel like time fillers. So often... But most of them do tend to feel like time fillers.
Time filler!
Instead of picking their pockets, I'd accidentally hit the wrong button and knife a few chicks in the face. Oops.
And the reason you're enlightening, boring us with this is?
Well, now it's been clone junk, and this time, it's got fairies.
I know you like the photo taking, but your opinion doesn't count because you're undead.
Spaghetti.
spaghetti or ravioli.
I think that it'd be really valuable to figure out the infrastructure and legal issues and financial issues that allow community-based funding rather than publisher or bank-based funding to occur.
You're such a nerd badger.
Why am I even touching this? Why?
Cole Hagen.
Connor.
Wow, let's get these people some air.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that, and especially seeing Junglist in action. And just a word on that, thank you to everyone who wrote and posted on the forums expressing their sadness at Jung leaving the show. We know he's been touched by all of your support, as have we, and we wish him all the very best in his future endeavours and thank him for all the great times here in the Den of Gaming.
Good game.
The Saboteur is a World War II adventure set in Nazi-occupied France, where you play the role of a fiery Irish guy known as Sean Devlin. He's based on the English motor racing spy William Grover Williams.
This must be that British mechanic who thinks he's a driver.
I'm fucking Irish.
This isn't standard World War II fare, though. Sean isn't in the army, he's not a patriot, and his motivation for killing Nazis is purely personal.
Should have been me, brother.
After seeing one too many of his friends die at the hands of the Nazis, Sean joins the French resistance, which is a good move because occupied France is a great playground for a budding saboteur looking for vengeance.
Yeah, the amount of stuff to destroy is mind-boggling. Each level has about 6 million things to blow up, and when you only carry 16 sticks of dynamite, yeah, that's gonna take a while.
When games look this good, though, I'm happy to take my time. The city's morale is colour-coded for easy reference. Free or liberated zones are colourful, vibrant, and enjoy an eternal summer. Nazi-controlled territory is grey and miserable and cursed with endless rain.
As metaphors go, it's not especially subtle. Oh, look, here we are in sunny Neverland. Ooh, now we're in Nazi-dominated territory. Something just didn't sit right for me with this game, and I think it's the main character. He's just so unlikable. What's his name?
It's Sean.
Yeah, see, I'm already trying to block him out. That's a fucking bullet! And there's no need to drop so many F-bombs. I'm still not sure whether the dialogue was hysterically bad on purpose.
What's this for? Shaving your legs?
A girl should always carry protection.
Although, the skipping of the cutscenes was done really well.
The VC is my government's highest honor.
Then I'll know what I've heard enough.
Basically, Sean loses patience with the NPC and tells them to hurry the heck up, and they actually do, and they give you a more condensed version of the mission. The perk system helped keep things interesting, and I made a point of trying to unlock the higher level skills in the story missions just to keep things challenging.
Yeah, unlocking those high level perks can be tricky, but it's worth it. Gold sniping with double kills takes ages. Learn to stand behind each other, Nazis.
I enjoyed this, and I really didn't think I would. The art direction is extremely well done, and as Last Projects goes, this is really quite good. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's Pandemic doing what it does, or what it did best. Large open worlds with lots to see and do. I just wish there'd been less corny dialogue and more full-on army bases to infiltrate. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
And now it's time for one of our most popular categories, the Good Game Award for the worst game of 2009. And the nominations are G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra, that was crap. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, absolute bollocks. Left 4 Dead 2, the lame version. And Leisure Suit Larry, box office bust. Terrible.
And the winner is... Stupid. Leisure Suit Larry, box office bust.
Bollocks! Now, this was a unanimous vote. Dear old Larry once had a proud place in gamers' hearts as a witty and charming pervert. But after this insult to gaming and humanity in general was released, the wit and charm was replaced with juvenile smut and game design that made Beijing Olympics 2008 look like a potential Game of the Year candidate. So congratulations to Leisure Suit Larry, box office bust, you're the worst game of 2009.
Sweaty package here for you. Maybe you can sign for it with your lips.
Good game. All right, Hex, let's get through the second half of the decade before that stupid monkey comes back.
If the first half of the noughties were all about the hardware, the second half has been all about accessibility, about opening the dark doors of gaming to the unwashed masses. The rise of affordable broadband made it easier than ever for gamers to keep in touch, and game developers were quick to jump on the bandwagon. The most obvious result of this increased connectivity was the huge growth of MMO games, with one standing head, shoulders and tubby little paunch above all the others. It is, of course, World of Warcraft, Blizzard's ludicrously popular fantasy MMO. Although it launched in 2004, its impact on the second half of the noughties is clear, and with over 10 million registered subscribers, nothing else even comes close. Not that stopped the devs from trying.
2005 saw the launch of the Xbox 360. With games like Call of Duty 2, cameo elements of Power, and Peter Jackson's King Kong, the console took full advantage of its head start over Sony and Nintendo.
The PS3 didn't launch until a year later, but Sony more than made up for its lost time with a press conference that launched 1,000 memes.
So here's this giant enemy crab.
It's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer!
And you attack its weak point for massive damage.
Sony and Microsoft pushed hard for the console exclusives to get the edge in their competition. On the face of it, the 360 has been winning the race with titles like Crackdown, the record-breaking Halo 3, Mass Effect and Gears of War. The live arcade has also played host to some of this generation's most entertaining original games, from Braid to Shadow Complex and Splosion Man, proving that smaller studios and bedroom coders can still mix it up with the bigger boys.
The PS3 wasn't far behind though. A year younger than the 360, it scored maybe 30 fewer exclusives, but they were arguably of a higher quality. Metal Gear Solid 4, Uncharted 1 and 2, Valkyria Chronicles, Infamous, Little Big Planet, the list goes on.
An unexpected side effect of the exclusives war was gamers buying multiple consoles. Nintendo was unfazed, but Sony and Microsoft needed a new point of difference stat. Microsoft's solution? Gamer points. A horrifyingly addictive take on the loyalty card. Putting gaming performance in the public domain created a powerful mixture of reward and shame, forcing gamers to go that extra mile for those elusive points. Online multiplayer has been around for decades, but it's a huge presence in gaming these days. Games like Gears of War, Borderlands and Left 4 Dead make the cooperative aspect the main focus of gameplay. It's not vital. You can play on your own with some AI, but it's a greatly reduced experience.
Ah yes, experience. Another buzzword for the late noughties. For Nintendo, the focus was on the pure fun experience, from waggling the Wiimote through an epic game of tennis to playing party games. The emphasis has been on good, clean, casual fun for the whole family the whole way. And while hardcore gamers may scoff at the content, the numbers speak for themselves, with the Wii selling 20 million more units than the 360, its closest competitor.
It's not just casual though, as the Wii brought us Mad World, one of the most over-the-top violent games of the decade. Thanks to the platform's family-friendly image and the stylized violence, the game snuck straight under the censor's radar, and Ninty fans were free to hack and slash their way through hordes of black and white baddies. No More Heroes, Scarface and The Godfather also helped to flesh out a small but promising mature gamer experience for Nintendo's funny little console.
Sony and Microsoft took a completely different track, choosing to focus on authentic Hollywood experiences, bigger, louder games that mirror their movie brethren, from Uncharted 2 to the trashy pulp approach of Wet. It's an approach that works, it seems, and who could have predicted a computer game outselling the decade's biggest box office hits? Halo 3 did it, GTA 4 did it, Assassin's Creed 2 did it, and Modern Warfare 2 most certainly did it.
Unfortunately, as the production costs rise, savings needed to be made in other areas to maximise the profit margin. Sometimes this has disastrous results. Microsoft's cost-cutting during the initial production of Xbox 360s resulted in a console that's extremely vulnerable to console-killing errors, which most of our viewers will know as the Red Ring of Death.
So that brings us just about up to date, and whilst it's difficult for us to predict exactly what's coming next, what is clear is that gaming is here to stay, it's only getting bigger, and has forever changed the way we choose to entertain ourselves.
So really going forward, It's the dynamic interaction, and we've really got to think about the creative blend. You know, I want it to be cool. Okay? Did you get on that? You know, I really want us to go forward and unlock this achievement together.
Good game.
Give it up, Harper. Don't make this messy.
The Na'vi could use you. It's now or never. We're 2 avatars against these guys. We can take them. Let's do it right now. Right now!
Time's up. Ryder, I order you to shoot Harper.
James Cameron's movie epic Avatar has been released alongside a game of the same name. But the question is, can they break the bad movie game stigma?
Ubisoft have written their own script, designed their own vehicles, characters, and weapons to tell their own story here. The events take place before the film, and you play a human signal specialist, pushing in on the indigenous homeworld of the Na'vi.
Your first mission sees you roaming around the jungle, fending off waves of viper wolves, which, dare I say it, are slightly reminiscent of...
Don't say it.
Skags. But I was really just keen to get stuck into some blue-skinned Avatar action. Thankfully, it wasn't long before I was placed into my Na'vi body, or my avatar, and I could do just that.
That never fails to creep me out.
You're sent on an undercover mission to find and kill a mole informant, but then are faced with the choice to either side with the Na'vi and fight the invasion, or return to the humans and help take the Na'vi down.
Falco and the RDA are finished. It's just a matter of time. I've joined with the Na'vi.
I guess this is the moral choice we're seeing in a lot of games of late.
I don't know if it's really a moral choice though. It's either I like the blue guys or I like playing with guns. The result of your actions will determine the type of weapons you use and also the missions you go on. I stuck with my human brethren and was determined to clear those blue-skinned pesky beasts off the moon of Pandora.
I chose to side with the Na'vi. I do like exploring the non-human alternative. Most alien creatures are less inclined to attack you once you become one with the forest. And while you do have a few machine guns at your disposal, you'll have a lot more fun exploring your new native arsenal of heavily powered crossbows, clubs, and knives.
You know what's worse than fighting skags though, Tex? Fighting plants. Fighting plants is always lame. One of the strengths of the game is that you do feel like you're in this alien world, and it's huge. You get a real sense of scale. But if you fall a few feet off a rock or a ledge, then you just take way too much falling damage. Both sides have skills to help you, such as sonic blasts, rapid dashes, and slowing down time. And it's fun working this into your combat. What I really missed was that zoom to aim function. It's a standard third-person shooter thing to be able to go in for a second zoom and go for those more precise shots, but it wasn't there, and I just felt like I was holding a big gun and waving it around like Star Wars kid.
Well, I may have been firing more arrows than bullets, but I could have used that function as well. I kept hoping it would come in a future upgrade, but it never did. What really annoyed me though was after playing through as a Na'vi and seeing all my awesome skills there, I really wanted to see your game footage and see what your skills were as a human, but all the skills were exactly the same. They just gave them stupid military names instead, like Kinetic Dash became RDA Elite Training. I mean, what a cop-out.
Yeah, that was pretty lame. I did get to fly in some pretty intense aircrafts though, like the Dragon gunships. Although that's one thing that I was jealous of your choice to go for the Na'vi. You got to fly actual dragons.
Yep, it was pretty cool and it looked amazing, although a few times when I'd be flying, I'd actually get stuck. It was really temperamental. It was like I was fighting against an invisible wall in the sky.
Multiplayer has your usual favourites, King of the Hill, Capture the Flag, Deathmatch. Unfortunately, we couldn't test it out with our code, but you can choose either side and just go for it.
The game is being released across platforms on 360, PS3, PC, and the Wii, although the Wii version is apparently a completely different game. But Badge, let's talk about the 3D for a second. Yes,
like the movie it's based on, Avatar can be gamed in true 3D, using stereoscopic technology. Of course, you have to have a TV that's compatible with that.
From the campaign I played, I think Avatar's a pretty great game. My hat goes off to James Cameron for wanting to break the bad movie game stigma. I did find it a bit weird that I was going up against machine guns with bow and arrows, but it worked. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, those Na'vi can take a lot of bullets before they go down. Hex, I hated the human campaign, and it's a shame because I really enjoyed being in this world. So from the human perspective, I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
And there's an interview with the producer of Avatar, John Landau, up on our website.
Good game.
You might be hoping to find loads of video games under your tree this Christmas, but there are some gamers who need them a lot more than you do.
That's right, Badge, and Good Game's roving reporter Ray has travelled the nation to find out how giving and gaming can sometimes go hand in hand.
Good game.
Christmas is a time for giving, and while most gamers will be handing out plenty of ownage this holiday season, some gamers are giving a lot more than that. Daniel and James are hardcore gamers, but they've also helped to bring an international gaming charity to Australia.
My name's Dan Mons. I'm the Volunteer-in-Chief for Child's Play Charity Australia. Child's Play started out of an online webcomic called Penny Arcade, which is pretty popular with gamers. They started the charity by looking at their local children's hospital and realising that there was a lot of kids in hospital that were pretty miserable, particularly over the Christmas season.
Originally, the charity was developed to support 2 local hospitals to the guys in Seattle, and over time it grew to support multiple hospitals across the United States.
In 2006, they opened their doors to the world and asked for other countries to come on board. That year, unfortunately, I didn't see Australia on the list, which I thought was a bit of a shame.
We had both actually come up with the idea at the same time where we both wanted Child's Play to come to Australia.
So I emailed the Penny Arcade guys and asked them if I could help out. They gave me all the details necessary so that I could start communicating with the hospitals and I could start organising for the donations to get to where they needed to go.
And as soon as we got that going, the gifts and donations started flowing in.
I think for both of us, we both have an inherent desire to give back to the community, and I think the charity in particular, because it was gamer focused and we were both gamers, it was really something that we had our hearts set on.
Yeah, that's it. The gamer part of it was really big for me because I'd always wanted to fight that sort of horrible, stereotype that gamers were useless. Putting that into conjunction with running a charity was just, it made perfect sense.
The Sydney Children's Hospital in Randwick is one of 2 hospitals in Australia to be supported by Child's Play, and it's been bringing plenty of gaming cheer to kids who need it the most.
My name's Kerry and I'm one of the play therapists here at Sydney Children's Hospital. Child's Play has donated nearly $40,000 over the last several years, which has been terrific. The money that Child's Play has donated has gone on a variety of different things, including gaming equipment, games. So at the moment we're very lucky. We have the majority of gaming units.
So is this your game collection?
This is some of our game collection. There is a whole more in the cupboard around the corner, and these are some of the gaming units that was kindly donated by a member of the public yesterday afternoon.
Okay, well, let's play.
Let's go.
So do you go around to all the wards and distribute games?
We certainly do go around to all the wards, Ray. We pack up our trolley and off we go each morning, each afternoon.
And who are we going to go see now?
Well, actually, we're off to see Ed.
Hey, Ed. I'm Ray from Good Game. So what you playing?
Wii Sports.
Can I have a go?
Yes.
Cool. So how long have you been in hospital for?
2 days. Probably I might be in here for another 12.
Yeah, and how often are you in hospital?
5 times a year, mainly.
How long is each stay?
2 weeks.
Wow, so what do you do to pass the time?
Play video games.
Yeah, how does it make you feel being able to play games while you're at hospital?
For the Wii, I get to be active because you don't get to go outside a lot. Makes hospital more funner.
I would have to say the feedback that we receive from our patients, being able to play all of the latest games has been terrific. Some of our patients actually prefer to be in hospital than actually to be going home because they might not actually have that game or that game console at home.
Just seeing everyone in the games room and seeing them all just having fun, and I can only imagine the amount of pain and discomfort that they would feel in the large majority of their lives in hospital.
And to see children like that take these games and to have these games rooms where they can run around, they can play games, they can socialise with other kids playing games together or competitively, it certainly brings a big smile to their face, which in turn, brings a big smile to our face.
And Ray, you've got some news of your own, I hear.
Yes, I'm actually heading off to Europe for a year to study, but hopefully I'll still be able to bring you all the latest stories about good gamers, developers, and conventions from over there.
Well, best of luck, but first, before you go, could you do us a favour and maybe jump on the drum kit over there, because we've got a couple more band games to review.
You mean I can have turn reviewing?
Only we may review, but you may comment as it's Christmas.
Okay.
Good game.
Well, it truly has been the year of music in video game land, with more music video games coming out than I can keep track of.
And what a surprise, we've got 2 more coming out just in time for Christmas.
Enter Lego Rock Band and Band Hero, offering up that same familiar formula, but this time with 100% more Lego and Taylor Swift.
Tex, I'm gonna let you finish, but Lego Rock Band has one of the greatest songs of all time.
Yeah, all right, I admit I let out a bit of a squeal when I discovered that Ghostbusters was on there, but then we had a play of it and it's quite repetitive and not much fun.
Yeah, but so what? I'm glad they put it in anyway. You can tell that this is clearly designed for a younger audience, and they'll get a lot more out of the song choices and the Lego stylings. To me, all the Lego stuff just seemed a bit pointless.
Well, if you're gonna buy a game called Lego Rock Band, then surely you'd expect some Lego elements in it, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Having said that, Lego Queen and Bowie are awesome.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues.
On that note, I'm not quite sure if the game really is targeted at kids. I'm just not sure if artists like Tom Petty and Elton John still resonate with kids these days.
Weird song choices aside, the setlist is actually quite small with only 45 tracks, and all of the downloadable content that you can access has to be deemed suitable for children, which is kid-friendly, but for adults it's pretty lame.
And there's not much more to say about it really. Compared to its older brother, Rock Band, there's not much going for it, but it is a solid game in its own right. I was going to give it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens, but... so I'm going to give it 8.
An entire point for one song.
Hells yeah, busting makes me feel good.
Okay, that's enough. But yeah, it's a solid effort with a lot of charm, and it has a strong, if rather small and strange, set list. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens. Now, let's move on to Band Hero.
Indeed, Band Hero aims to sink its teeth into the jugular of the mainstream by ditching the rock and metal of previous Guitar Hero games and going for chart-topping pop hits.
You know, there's not a lot to say about this one either, other than giving it some crap for having a terrible and confusing name. I mean, we have Rock Band and we have Guitar Hero, but it's like Guitar Hero have just gone, let's use one of their words and call ours Band Hero, and it seems like it's just designed to confuse people. I mean, what next? Guitar, band, hero, rock, rock, hero, guitar, band, rock?
Correct!
Give the fast slip! This is basically the same game as Guitar Hero 5. It includes all the streamlined menus and the party play, except it's more on the pop end of the spectrum. So if you're into that sort of thing, then you'll obviously like it a lot more. It does have a bigger set list with 65 Ghostbuster-less tracks compared to Lego Rock Band's 45.
Well, people know what they're getting with these games, but it still comes down to whether or not the music interests you. Still, a music game without music that I like is a miss for me. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I know I'm not meant to be scoring, but can I please give this game a score?
Well, it is Christmas. Go on then.
Right, well, I've been listening to both of you, and I completely agree that the game does offer a much smoother gaming experience. And if we look at Band Hero in isolation, then yeah, it functions well, it plays well, and it's got a decent set list. But I do think we have to take into account where the game sits in relation to its franchise. I see Band Hero as a sequel, and as a sequel, it fails. You have to ask yourself, what has the game done to contribute anything to the franchise? What has it done to warrant a game of its own? And the answer is nothing. So as a standalone game, it plays well enough, so I'll give it an 8. But as a follow-on to Guitar Heroes 1 to 5, it's fairly mediocre, so I'm gonna have to give it 4 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Never said anything about 2 scores. One thing I'd like to mention is the drum kit is much better. It's a lot sturdier with the metal stand, and whether it's more reliable than the previous drum kits remains to be seen. Ray's already broken ours, and because Ray gave it 2 scores, I'm going to give it 2 scores as well. 7 because the game actually works, and 7.5 for the better drum kit design that Ray broke.
Good game.
Guys, guys, we've reached that point in the show where it's time to crown one game the very best of the year. And the nominations are Modern Warfare 2, Dragon Age Origins, Uncharted 2, and Assassin's Creed 2.
And the award for the best game of 2009, as voted by the forum goers and the Good Game team, is...
Uncharted 2.
A beautiful cinematic masterpiece with a compelling single-player campaign, top-notch co-op, and hectic multiplayer. It's a triumphant celebration of gaming that keeps you coming back for more.
A unanimous vote in the Good Game office and a clear winner in the viewers' poll, Uncharted 2 is hands down our game of the year.
Good game.
Congratulations to everyone who worked on the game.
Now, did you guess the Christmas game for this year?
It was Santa Claus Saves the Earth on the Game Boy Advance from 2002, a little game by Lithuanian developer Ivil Gamis, the folks behind Barbie the Island Princess and Shrek's Carnival Craze.
Sorry about that. If there'd been a hardcore Santa strategy game, then we totally would have done that instead.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show for this week and the year.
Yes, but we'll be back in February next year with our very own expansion pack, Good Game Spawn Point, screening at the weekends over on ABC3.
And Good Game, what are we going to call this show? Good Game AO?
Good Game Last Gen.
Good Game MA15+ but needs an R18+ rating.
Good Game Vanilla.
How about just Good Game?
Yeah, okay, that works. We'll return next year from February 15th on ABC2 Monday nights.
Yes, and a big thank you to all the gamers and developers who appeared on the show this year, and for all of you at home for watching and supporting us on the forums.
And Ray, best of luck over in Europe. Do stay in touch.
Thanks, definitely will.
And very warm wishes to you and your families for a safe and festive season. Until next year, gamers, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Ray out.
Barjo out. Ray, you gonna come to my totally awesome Christmas retro party?
I'm gonna be busy packing, like, got heaps of consoles and power gloves and stuff to
Why was such a mood for?